Heyo, and welcome back to my channel. In case you were wondering, this is a life update. I'm still alive after working for 2 weeks, so just in case you were wondering. Why do I have my setup like this? Why am I pretending that it's dark when actually it's really not dark outside? Because I light candles, and we'll get to that in a minute. Since this is a little bit before Thanksgiving, I thought it would be applicable to talk about something that I have read in this book called Waking the Dead by John Eldredge, which I really highly recommend. It's so good. It's talking about how Jesus' whole mission in coming was, which is in like I need to look this up. Hang on, I'm not going to try to quote this. Ha, there we go. Okay. And he's quoting Jesus, quoting Isaiah. He said, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair." And so talking about when Jesus came to earth, what he came to do was give us life, and life in abundance, and how we need him to call our hearts awake in order to be able to experience that. And it's so good. I cannot really succinctly summarize 240 pages, so just read this because it's really good. Also read this because this is really good too. So to start out, I wanted to read a little section from that book which kind of explains how this sort of has to do with thankfulness, which has to do with Thanksgiving, so it's all very appropriate. But I'm going to start with Ephesians 5 verses 1 and 2, which says, "Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." And now, we're going to be reading from this book really fast. Okay, this is a little section called "The Point of All Living." Sounds kind of important, doesn't it? "I love watching a herd of horses grazing in an open pasture, or running free across the sage-covered plateaus in Montana. I love hiking in the high country when the wildflowers are blooming, the purple lupine and the Shasta daisies, the Indian paintbrush when it's turning magenta. I love thunderclouds, massive ones. My family loves to sit outside on summer nights and watch the lightning, hear the thunder as a storm rolls in across Colorado. I love water, too. The ocean, streams, lakes, rivers, waterfalls, rain. I love jumping off high rocks into lakes with my boys. I love old barns, windmills, the West. I love vineyards. I love it when my wife Stacy is loving something. Love watching her delight. I love my boys. I love God. Everything you love is what makes a life worth living. Take a moment, set down the book, and make a list of all the things you love. Don't edit yourself. Don't worry about prioritizing or anything of that sort. Simply think of all the things you love, whether it's the people in your life, or the things that bring you joy, or the places that are dear to you, or your God. You could not love them if you did not have a heart. A life filled with loving is a life most like the one that God lives, which is life as it was meant to be." Ephesians 5, 1 and 2. "And loving requires a heart alive and awake and free." I just love that sentence. A life filled with loving is a life most like the one that God lives, which is life as it was meant to be. And so, when I read that, I sat down the book and I went and I made a list of all of the things that I love, all of the things that I'm so grateful for, all of the things that I want to choose to treasure shamelessly. And that list comes from this third book that I have, which is this little notebook. And so I thought that I would share some of this with you because we're practicing being thankful. And these are a lot of the things that I'm really thankful for. And even just the act of writing them down made me go through and think of it and be grateful to God for all the times that I have experienced all of these things. And consciously thinking about, this is what I'm deciding kind of in my brain, this is one of my favorite things. Then I'm thinking about it the next time it happens, and I'm more likely to remember, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite things. I'm going to treasure this shamelessly in this moment. I don't know, we'll go through this. Okay, some of these are people, and if you are this person, then you know who you are, and I appreciate you. So, here we go. Certain people's smiles, clothes shopping, wearing my tiara. I like to wear this on days when I'm not feeling super good, but like to remind myself that I am a princess and I'm God's child, and thus I have worth and I am loved. So, that's what this is. I love warm showers after being soaked with rain. I love overcast skies. I love the way the air smells right before it storms. I love my chocolate spinach water. I love warm, soft, oversized sweaters. I love princess skirts, which are my name for the ones that are really poofy. I just really like poofy skirts. I like Sleeping at Last, which is a music artist. I love iced coffee. I love pictures of fantasy landscapes. I love mountain air. I love a lonely ocean at sunset. I love fall colors. I love wind, particularly strong wind. The stronger the better, except not tornadoes. I love pale pink roses. I love crisp temperatures, which I keep my room way too cold for my mom. She's like, "Goodness, turn the AC off!" I'm like, "Sorry, Mom." I love anklets. I love flowers, lace, and bandanas in my hair. I love guy hugs I feel safe in. I love the scent of a coffee shop. I love vanilla. Vanilla anything. I even had vanilla scrambled eggs one time, but that's another story for another time. Probably never. I love fairy lights. Got those. Check. I love watching sunsets from the barn roof at my friend's house. I love every sunset ever, regardless of setting, because each one is unique and precious, and I don't ever want to miss one. I want to appreciate every single one of them, because it's all a one-time gift. I love shooting stars. I love the feeling of homesickness. I love mossy, dark, enchanted forests. I love ferns. I love late-night heart-to-hearts. I love writing a new song, or a new story, or drawing a new picture. I love getting lost in prayer. I love the He Is video by Eric Ludy. Go watch it. I love tea lights. I love candles in general, so that's why we have those. I love it when my friends dance from the heart. I love my fake brother's stories. I love the way one of my friends always smells like coconut whenever I hug her. I love good books. I love rain on a tin roof. I love takeoff in an airplane. I love the view off a particular bluff at my friend's house. I love each and every one of my tears, honestly. Because, I don't know, no matter what I'm crying about, whether I'm mad, whether I'm lonely, whether I'm hurting, whether I'm happy, when I'm crying is usually one of the most precious times with God, because He always, always, always ends up eventually coming and comforting me, and that is the sweetest feeling. And in a weird way, yeah, I treasure this time when I do get to cry and experience Him comfort me, because someday that's not going to be the case. Like, He's going to wipe every tear from my eye. I'm never going to be crying again. And I know that that's going to be a better time, but even now I feel like there's a beauty in getting to experience the pain and then Him coming to comfort me. And then someday He's going to come and comfort me a final time, and I'm never going to be hurting again. I love Jesus' prayers for us in John 16 and 17, I think. Maybe just John 17. I love four-wheeler rides all over the mountain. I love fluffy cats, which includes my fake brother, who is also my cat. No, he's not very fluffy. His hair is fluffy, so we'll go with that. I love my brother Ethan's tears. I love rope and board swings. I love my little cousin's butterfly kisses because she has super long eyelashes and she'll just like flutter them against your cheek and it feels so good. I love good memories. I love laughing until I can't breathe. I love watching fire, campfire, candles. I don't know. I just love watching it. It's so pretty. I love the silhouettes of pine trees against a starry sky because the stars are so sharp and in focus, but the pine trees are so dark and they look super soft. I love stars. I love hammocks. I love watching movies with Rebecca and keeping up a running commentary. I love being on stage and in character. I love hearing people's stories and seeing the broken places in their hearts and getting to sit with them there. I love the glimpses I get of how God sees everyone, because sometimes He will show me His heart and I'll end up just crying so hard about how beautiful people are and how much I love them and He loves them. I love dancing like nobody's watching. I particularly love dancing when nobody's watching. I love driving down empty highways at dusk. I love those times when there's this person that you meet and you never see them again, but somehow they impacted your life and you always remember them. There are a few people like that, just random people that I only saw for a few days, but they were really kind to me and I really appreciated that. I love Sharpie pens, which is what I wrote this in, so that made me happy. Can someone move the bird to another dimension just temporarily till I'm done recording? I love writing on myself with Sharpie pens. I love how smells can bring back memories. I love the memories I have of people that I've said goodbye to for now. I love bantering with people. I love exercising. I love cleaning and organizing with visible results. I love smoothies. They're my favorite food. I love vegetables. They're my other favorite food. And every time I eat them, it just makes me so happy. I love baby grand pianos. I barely ever get to play on them, but as I've gotten older, I've noticed the different sounds between different kinds of pianos, and those sound amazing. They're so pretty. I love people watching and stalking people. I love doing dumb stuff and not caring. I love writing long letters. I love receiving long letters. And not necessarily letters, because in this day of technology that often means emails also. That generally means emails. I love journaling when I feel like God isn't speaking to me every day. I love music videos with ballet. It's so cool watching them dance together. Like, what? It makes me jealous, but also I just really appreciate it. Birdie, shush. I love baptisms at our church camp. Yeah, in our church, like, that's where you get baptized, in a freezing cold creek, and everyone sits on the bridge and gets to watch and be there and celebrate with you, and it's so beautiful, and that's, like, most of my favorite memories, because I've seen so many people over the years get baptized there, and it just brings me so much joy every single time to have another person added to the family. I love rushing down a long hill on a bike. I love long rope and plank bridges. I love listening to someone's heartbeat. I love screaming at the top of my lungs, whether I'm cheering for something, whether I'm pretending to be competitive in something, whether I'm screaming for the sake of making something more fun, like a roller coaster, except I don't ride roller coasters, or whether I'm just screaming for literally no reason at all. I just like it. I love worshiping in spirit and in truth. I love baking. I love the rare times when I have the house to myself for a day. I love the time that I have in bed before I fall asleep, whether that's spent praying or talking to God about my day in a sleepy, peaceful kind of way, or telling myself stories sometimes, or just like imagining pleasant things that could happen in the future. I generally really enjoy that time. I love singing off key. I love singing on key, particularly in places with really good acoustics, so that I sound really good. I love carpooling, blasting music with the windows down. I love bubble farewells from Ethan's car. We have this thing where whenever we're driving away from somewhere and we're in his car, I will roll down my window and just stick a bubble wand out the window, and as we drive away it blows bubbles back at people, and that's so much fun to me. I love waterfalls. I love Gaga Ball, which is a game, which is really fun. I love it when Ethan calls me Lily, because that's his pet name for me. I love little kids laughing. Oh my goodness. I love deer spotting. I love the bridge at Timms Ford State Park in Tennessee. I have so many good memories there. I love mist. I love mist. We barely ever get it, but whenever we do, I'm like, yeah, I'm treasuring this. I love snow, because that's also super rare where I live. I love kittens. I love moonbows, which, I don't know if you know what this is, but basically sometimes at night there's literally like a rainbow of color around the moon. It's super cool. I love twirling in skirts, and I love hay rides. And so that is not, oops, I forgot the bookmark. That's not an exhaustive list, but that's just some of the stuff that I came up with that are things that I'm super grateful for, and I want to really take the time to appreciate every single time that I get to experience them, because they're little gifts from God to me, and they're sprinkled all throughout my life, and those are the moments that feel so beautiful. And I want to cultivate a heart of love, because I want to live the way that Jesus did, and I want to live a life of love, and I want to be open to the beauty of loving things. And honestly, did not translate into gratitude and love towards God for giving me these things in the first place. There are so many hard and dark, broken, awful parts about life on this earth, and I'm not going to deny that. But there's also so many little moments of grace and beauty to be found that are like little tastes of what it's going to be like all the time in heaven. And I love them all the more now for the contrast, when now they are few and far between, and I have to actively seek them out. I have to remind myself to even pay attention to these things, experience them to the full, be grateful for them, because a lot of times I just don't notice, because I'm too caught up in other things. But someday, that's all that there's even gonna be to focus on. So yeah, those are some of the things that I'm really grateful for, things that call my heart to life, things that I am making the choice now to treasure shamelessly whenever they come. Thank you for watching, and if you liked that list, I would encourage you to go write one of your own. Go ask God to tell you all of the little ways that He has made your heart to come alive, and, I don't know, bring delight to your soul, honestly. And then go and delight in those things. That's all I got for now. Goodbye until more interesting things happen.